Well, hi there. So in this video, we're going to learn about economic profit and accounting profit, which is a new concept, even though this is a practice video. And then we're going to do a little bit of practice with our concepts about how much should a firm produce, marginal revenue versus marginal cost. So let's get started. Okay, so the first part of here is actually new information, even though it's practice, and that's because I think it's relatively easy to understand, as long as you kind of spend a moment to kind of read through what this is saying. Most of the questions when we talk about in economics are going to refer to profit, and they're just going to say profit. And when that's the case, we can assume, because this is economics class, that it means economic profit. But there's actually two different types of profit. There's a type called accounting profit and a type of economic profit. And just to give you kind of an idea of like what does this mean in terms of these two definitions of profit? Well, if profit, first off, if I know that this economic profit is bigger than zero, then firms are going to be opening, and then that's the right decision that somebody should do. So this kind of economic profit tells us what we should do, right? Should or not do. And accounting profit literally just tells us like how much money our company is earning. And so this is useful, right? Accounting profit, but economic profit is helping us make better decisions. Now, the way we kind of distinguish between the two is that you have a total amount of income. That's typically called your revenue or your income if you're producing something. And when we figure out what your accountant would tell you how much money you're making, we would subtract out your explicit cost. It's like money that's exiting from your wallet, right? That explicit, it's exiting your wallet. And so these are things that are direct outlays like rent. There are things like utilities. There are your input costs, all of your actual fixed cost and variable costs. These are the direct expenses that you would have. Now that's going to leave you with an accounting profit. But economists don't just care about that. They care about like what is your opportunity cost. And so we would actually take from your accounting profit and we would subtract from that, what are you giving up? What are you losing by choosing to do this, right? You would have had another alternative. And so maybe what income or revenue are you giving up in order to do something? And that's a little bit of a trickier concept to understand. That's why I've got you a quick practice problem. Now, generally speaking, we actually find that economic profit in the long run for a lot of firms is zero. They're breaking even, if you will, from an economic standpoint. And that means that kind of the market has what we say equilibrated, right? And we're going to come back to talking about normal profit or zero economic profit later in this class. But suffice it to say for today that if your economic profit is positive, that's something that you should be doing, and new companies would actually start operating in that market. If it's a negative number, that's something that you shouldn't be doing. You should switch and do the other thing because your implicit cost is outweighing whatever you're earning from choosing to do what you're doing here. So if your implicit costs are really, really high and they're bigger than actually what you're earning from doing what you're doing, that's a sign that you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. You should switch over and do the other thing because your opportunity cost is so high. Okay, so let's look at an example problem. Dr. Glassinger earns $120,000 of revenue operating a store. So that's this number that starts up here. That's how much income Gloss is making. So we have 120,000, and then it says he spends 40,000 on supplies, rent, other expenses. Those are the explicit costs. It also says he owns the storefront. So we can subtract out kind of now that we have this, if he were not blah, 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 if he could rent out the store, we're going to subtract out our explicit costs of 40,000. Right? So that's our explicit, and this is our income. And so that leaves me, Gloss, with positive 80,000 of accounting profit, we would say. And so accounting profit here, positive 80K. But what's our economic profit? Well, to do that, I have to know what my implicit costs are. So I said that I'm owning the storefront, but if I wasn't running the store, I could earn another $80,000 as a teacher with no other expenses, and I could rent out that storefront and earn $10,000. Be very careful that you actually read the problems. A lot of students read that and they're like, I don't know what it says that he's earning $10,000. No, I would only earn that money if I wasn't operating the store, right? I can't rent it out to somebody while I'm actually using it. So there are two actual implicit costs of me running this store. If I run the store, I'm giving up the opportunity to earn $80,000 as a teacher and $10,000 by renting out the facility. So I'm going to subtract 90,000 because those are my implicit costs. And I actually find here negative $10,000 is my economic profit from running this store, right? Negative 10K. And so I should teach because the economic profit of the store is negative. And so you could actually say that he has an economic loss by running the store. Okay, so hopefully that helps you understand this idea of economic versus accounting profit. 99 times out of 100, like when we're doing these kinds of problems, we're dealing with economic profit. And actually, all of these costs already have the implicit cost built into them. So you can make that assumption unless it's specifically asking you to kind of do one of these problems related to accounting or economic profit. All right, let's take a look at this table and answer some of these questions. First, we want to fill in the table. And it says, what's the price of the product? And I've got to fill out our MR. If I know my total revenue here and my total product is changing by 1 each time, then I know my marginal revenue is increasing by the amount that my total revenue is changing. So I would say 18, because 0 to 18. 18 to 36 is also 18, 36 to 30 to 54, 54 to 72, 72 to 90, and 90 to 108. So my marginal revenue is a constant value of 18, and that tells me that my price of my product is 18. Now, my marginal cost is my change in total cost associated with additional units of output. So my marginal cost is the change in TC here. So 23 minus 7 is, oh, that was a brain fart, 16. 29 minus 23. And what I'm actually doing is saying 29 minus 23 over 2 minus 1. But every single time that denominator is just going to be 1 because the change in total product is just 1. So here we have 29 minus 23, that's 6. And then 37 minus 29 is 8. 49 minus 37 is, what is that? 9 plus 3 is 12. And then 65 minus 49 is 16. And 87 minus 65 is, what is that? 22. So again, I'm just kind of subtracting 87 minus 65 to get 22, 65 minus 49 to get 16, and so forth. Now, the simple way for me to figure out where I should be producing, I can just compare MR and MC and pick the one where it's the last one before it goes over. So I already actually can just look at this and say, boom, right there, marginal cost 16, marginal revenue 18. The next one I wouldn't want to produce because that 22 is bigger than 18. Now, so I already know that I'm going to want to produce 5. I'm going to come back to that problem in just a second, though. First, it says, what's the fixed cost, right? We got to answer some of these questions. Part B, well, the fixed cost exists even at 0 level of output. And so that's actually going to correspond to our total cost of 7. So I can just look at the table and say that's 7. Now, profit maximizing output. Well, I know it's going to be 5. And I'm going to actually test that out and show you that this is true. So like we're going to explain with marginal analysis in a second, but let's take a look. At the 0th level of output, I have negative 7 profit because I'm just 7 or 0 minus 7. 18 minus 23 is negative 5, so I'm still losing money there. 36 minus 29, now I'm in the black. I've got positive 7. 54 minus 37 is 17. 72 minus 49 is 23. 90 minus 65 is 25, and then 108 minus 87 is 21. I hope that I did all these numbers right. I didn't practice with these, so hopefully my mental math calculations are doing okay. I know that you'll correct me if I'm wrong. So we can see here, just doing these numbers, I hope I'm right, the maximum profit that I could attain is 25, and that does occur here. My marginal analysis explanation, because that's the important part here, it's got to be that. I can't just say, well, I did these numbers, and obviously that's the biggest one. Right? That doesn't count. You have to say because Q4, the MR is greater than the MC, so that's 18 and 12, while at Q5, MR is closest to MC at 18 versus 16, and not do quantity 6 because the MC is bigger than the MR. So what I'm doing when I'm making this explanation is I'm saying, why would I not have stopped at the 4th one, right? And I'm not stopping at the 4th one because the next one has a higher marginal cost value that gets me closer to that marginal revenue. So I'm not going to stop here. I'm also going to explain why I'm not going to do the one after the one that I've chosen, right? So what I'm really saying in marginal analysis is think on the margins, think on the edges. That's what marginal analysis really means, is why would I not do the one before? Well, because that value difference is larger than this value difference. And I would not do quantity 6 because the marginal cost is bigger than the marginal revenue. So I'm articulating this is the one that I would want to produce. Why not the one before and why not the one after? Now, sometimes students will notice something. Eagle-eyed students will notice something. They'll go, wait a minute, Gloss, MR equals MC. You're getting as close as possible actually here at this first unit. And that's because what often happens with marginal cost is it comes down and then goes back up again. right? And that's actually the pattern we see here. It comes down and then goes back up again. In this range of the marginal cost curve, the workers are still specializing and they're still gaining from that specialization. So I'm not going to stop here at the very first one because I still want to extend kind of and exploit some of that specialization effect. And so actually firms don't stop in this range. And so the actual supply curve is only going to be in this portion of the marginal cost curve where they're actually willing to sell, because they're not actually willing to stop at that very first unit. And if you do the numbers, you can see why, right? They're still not earning even a profit at that low level. They want to keep going into that range where you do have some diminishing marginal returns, but not to where the point where your marginal cost exceeds your marginal revenue. Now let's take a look at these bottom two questions. This is returning back to 3.1 production function practice, and we're going to complete that final section. So I have with me, this is the data table that I filled out from the last video. Your numbers might look a little different. And in order to do this columns, these 4 columns, you're going to need a little calculator, right? So I'm just going to kind of explain how we're going to do these. And I'm going to show you, and then we're going to find how many workers should this company have actually hired. And we're going to use the tools of analysis that we actually know to do this. Now, marginal cost, I'm going to put a little arrow here and say marginal cost equals the change in total cost divided by the change in total product, right? That's actually what marginal cost means. Now on these, we don't have unit by unit of total product. So that's why this is going to be kind of an important detail here. We're not dividing the change in total cost by 1 every single time. So we want to see what's the marginal cost of a unit, right? So in order to do that, we know we aren't going to have any at the 0th unit. But the change in total cost as we go from one worker to the next is going to be 12. And it's going to be 12 each time because each worker costs 12. So it's going to be 12 divided by the change in total product. And we actually already have that value calculated as the marginal product. So I have my little calculator right here, but most of these you're going to be able to do in your head if you have relatively easy numbers. 12, which is our change in the cost, divided by the 10 is divided by 10 is 1.2, right? So it's $1.20. So this first worker, the marginal cost of these first 10 links is $1.20 each, is a way to kind of think about that. Now the next one is going to be 12, is the change in cost, again, because it's just the cost of hiring that additional worker, but that worker only generated 8. So we're going to do 12 divided by 8 equals 1.5. So we started to see the marginal cost starting to rise again. Now we have the change 12 divided by, and now what's our change over here? 6. Well, 12 over 6 is 2. So now our marginal cost is up to $2. For the next one, we have a change of 12 divided by 5, right? Because that's our marginal product. So we went from 24 to 29. And that 12 divided by 5 equals $2.40 or 2.4. Right? Hopefully you're staying with me on this. Now, the change here, 12, but we only got one marginal product. So that's just $12. And this last one, this person cost us 6 links. So I'm not gonna calculate that one at all, because I would never hire a worker that's actually costing me paper chain links. That wouldn't make any sense. Now I know that the marginal revenue is equal to the price, right? We remembered that from another section on this, and it gives me that it's $3 revenue per link. But we can actually see that if we do some of these numbers. Now the total revenue, if I make no links, is 0, because that's just the price, $3, times the total product. So 3 times 10 is 30. 3 times 18 is 54. Oh boy. 3 times 24 is 72. Boy, I hope I'm doing these right. 3 times 29 is 87. 3 times 30 is 90. And then 3 times 24, we already did that one, was 72. Now, the marginal revenue is the change. So I'm going to actually do another one over here. Marginal revenue is the change in total revenue divided by the change in total product. Now, each and every single one of these is going to be 3, but I want to show you that it's true. Now, there's not one for the 0th unit. These marginals don't exist there. The change in total revenue here was 30. Divided by that marginal product change in product was 10. 30 over 10 is 3. Now, the change in total revenue here was 24. Divided by what's the marginal product? 8 is 3. The change here was, again, what is this? 18 divided by 6 is 3. Then this one is 72 to 87. 15 divided by 5 is 3. And then 87 to 90 is 3. Divided by 1 is 3. And again, I'm not going to calculate that last one because it's really kind of irrelevant to our purposes. We know we're not going to hire that worker no matter what. Now, what we can do is quickly compare marginal cost to marginal revenue. Should I stop here? Probably not. Should I do this one? Yes. Should I do this one? Yes, because marginal revenue is bigger than marginal cost. Should I do this one? Yes, marginal revenue is bigger than marginal cost. Should I do this one? Whoa, absolutely not, right? This one, I only got $3 of marginal revenue per link, and it cost me $12 to get that link. So I am absolutely not going to hire that worker. I'm actually going to stop at worker number 4. Now let's test that and see where I maximize my profit. I'm going to put a star there because I think that's going to be the right one. Total revenue minus total cost. Well, total revenue 0 minus total cost 10 is negative 10. 30 minus 22 is 8. 54 minus 20, or 54 minus 34, excuse me, is 20. 72 minus 46 is 26. 87 minus 58 is 29. And then last but not least, 90 minus 70 is 20. And let's prove that we really shouldn't hire this guy. 72 minus 82 is negative 10, right? Negative 10 and negative 10. So lo and behold, boom, this was true. We should have hired 4 workers. Even though we maximize our total product output at 5, even though we maximize our revenue there, we actually don't want to maximize our revenue. We just want to maximize the profit that we're earning. So let's go back and answer this question. How many workers should I have hired? Q4. And at that quantity of workers, what was the MR and the MC? The MR was $3. And let me double check. The MC was $2.40 versus $2.40. $2.40. And did it hold true? Yes, it did. And so hopefully your data table is not too challenging for you to figure out with these numbers. I hope that it shows you that the profit maximizing rule is true, and I'll see you next time.